We have all seen how well the Bitcoin spot ETFs have performed, and we can see that we've recently had sign-off for the Ethereum spot ETFs from the SEC. It is only the S1 forms left to go, and we are good for launch on the ETH side of things. So that begs the question, is XRP the next spot ETF to be filed and to be approved by the SEC? Let's jump right down into today's video and discuss just that. So can XRP get a spot ETF? The approval of a spot ETF, or specifically a Bitcoin spot ETF back in January, saw an immediate shift to the potential green lighting of Ethereum. We've been talking about this for a while. We know that the Ethereum spot ETFs were inevitable. Once we saw filings for the Bitcoin spot ETFs from BlackRock, it was kind of an inevitability that we were to see Ethereum following suit. And anyone who's been paying attention to the grayscale side of things, which anyone in our community will know, JB's got his fingers all over that and has been monitoring what's been going on with the grayscale side of things. We saw them coming out of Bitcoin and going into Ethereum during the most recent surges to the upside, pretty much from January through to now. For the Bitcoin side of things, they've been basically pulling out of Bitcoin and going into Ethereum, front running where the Ethereum spot ETFs have the potential to go. And so all eyes should be on Grayscale and what they are doing. And we've seen, most recently the green lighting from the SEC for, the Ethereum spot ETFs. It's only the S1 forms to go. And so that begs the question, can XRP get a spot ETF? This is something that's been all over Twitter most recently, specifically in the last 24 hours or so. And there's a lot of debate about this because obviously there's a lot going on when it comes to Ripple and the SEC and whether or not that case is going to come to conclusion. I think there's a few different things that we need to kind of take a look at, right? The biggest caveat for an XRP ETF is the ongoing case with Ripple and the SEC, right? Essentially, it's very unlikely that we're going to see an approval until that case comes to an end. It's not impossible because it's basically already kind of come out that the secondary sales are not security sales. So I don't think there's going to be a huge hurdle here, but it is something that we need to kind of take into consideration. There's going to be still a bit of a spotlight on the institutional side of things. And when it comes to these spot ETFs, unfortunately, there's a lot of institutional players within that stock market, right? Not just retail. So secondary sales are interesting. And obviously they're not constituted as securities. This was back in July. So Ripple is in a strong position right now. It's only really the institutional stuff that's a bit of a gray area at the moment. So a spot ETF is not impossible, but I think there's still going to be a little bit of hesitance there when it comes to kind of launching a XRP spot ETF in the kind of shorter term. The medium to long term, I'm definitely behind this. I do think it is something that we are likely to see. So if we kind of take a look at some of the other things that are going on in the space here, we can see a load of ads for some unknown reason. Here we can see that basically a lot of people are unanimous are saying that Solana is probably the next ETF, right? So we've seen the Ethereum one. A lot of people are saying it's going to be XRP next, but actually the reality of the situation is it's probably going to be Solana. With the VC backing and the kind of money that is behind Solana, I think it's definitely more probable that Solana gets the next spot ETF slot. I think XRP would be after Solana in this particular case. So it's going to be interesting, right? There's potential they can go anyway, right? But I think for the most part, anyone who's kind of paying attention to what Grayscale are doing, they're kind of showing us that actually a lot of the staking altcoins are the ones that you really want to be focusing in on, right? So they see where in Bitcoin, spot ETF comes, they come out of Bitcoin, go into Ethereum. The Ethereum spot ETF is coming, but at the same time as them kind of loading up into Ethereum, you can also see them loading up and launching products around staking. So investors can go into those products and basically earn all the staking rewards, right? So things Chainlink, for example, where you can stake it, Ethereum, where you can stake it, and so many others that you can stake and earn rewards from. These are the next kind of altcoins you want to be focusing in on. But from a spot ETF point of view, I do think it's more likely to be Solana, considering the billionaires that are behind it, right? The people who have vested interest in producing big ticket numbers for Solana. I think that's got the higher probability of going. XRP, with a little bit of gray in the background when it comes to the lawsuit, is going to be a little bit more of a problem. The supply being as high as it is, I think is going to be very interesting as well, which we'll talk about the price potential of an XRP spot ETF soon, right? So let's see if there's anything else worth kind of noting in here at the moment, right? Basically, a prominent ETF analyst at Bloomberg Intelligence agrees that basically they're saying Solana is practically, or that basically practically fits based on the current president and market conditions, right? It is kind of the next major one. Now, obviously, I still have concerns over Solana. This is no secret, but I think until 2025, I think that's definitely going to be something interesting. But of course, and as they kind of point out in this article here as well, and during the interview on CNBC, the Solana spot ETF would be a 2026 product. And I agree with this because the VC interest have the potential to dump on the market in 2025. So I think you're going to first of all see that next bear market. And then you're going to see the Solana ETF. So you're going to see a lot of the VCs coming out. The price is dropping down quite heavily. And then I think all the VCs and the billionaires, the multimillionaires are all going to soak up that supply ahead of the ETF side of things. So that's kind of where I think that one goes. That does mean, of course, that the idea of an XRP ETF is, of course, behind this. So we're likely to see another spur of spot ETFs probably in the next bullish market. But that brings us on to, the hypothetical case for XRP, and what's really interesting about this article, before I jump into my own charts and give you my 2 cents on it, we can see here that people have asked ChatGPT for ChatGPT's approach to this. Now, the problem that I have with this is that you cannot take a direct scenario that ChatGPT has taken using Bitcoin as a reference and applying that same logic to XRP. And the reason for this is you have what we call an elasticity curve, right? Diminishing returns over time. Lots of different ways of articulating it, right? But basically, when you see diminishing returns over time, it's all to do with supply and demand. And in the case of Bitcoin, we have diminishing returns over time because we're reaching, this elasticity area, this kind of peak curve for it. Now, it's possible that we have breakout situations and we completely break down the elasticity of BTC. And to do that, we really do already have kind of the frameworks in place, and it's really all about deflation rather than inflation. So when we talk about elasticity, you kind of have the idea that you have an unlimited supply that you can always bring in, right? That's not the case for Bitcoin. So although we're following this idea of diminishing returns for Bitcoin for now, I do see a future where we potentially break out of it. Now, I bring this up because what's happened here with ChatGPT in this particular article is it's taken the idea of Bitcoin's percentages and applied those percentages to XRP. It's really basic. And what it's doing is giving you really kind of low ball numbers for XRP because these are numbers that I just think are crazy low considering where it already was back in 2021. An ETF for XRP would completely diminish or completely break out from what it's already done previously, historically speaking. And so in this particular article, it just applies the Bitcoin percentages, so basically 66% increase, basically based on an XRP spot ETF. And I think it is rather foolish, right? And so I think it's important that we actually note that a breakout situation for XRP will be significantly higher than what's going on in here. So ChatGPT is basically predicting out an 83 cents to $1.20 on a spot ETF approval for XRP, when it's only really based on the flawed logic that's gone into it, which is that BTC had X amount of percentage gains, right? But percentage gains on BTC versus XRP are vastly different, and they will be vastly different, and we'll see this once we get the case closed between the SEC and Ripple, right? So it's really, really interesting stuff, and I think it's really important that we kind of focus in on where we think things are actually going to be going, rather than kind of just asking AI what AI thinks, because AI, if you give it some parameters to follow, it's going to only use those parameters within its logic, right? And so it's bound by what you're feeding it. And in this particular case, you fed it Bitcoin, or the people fed it Bitcoin data, and then it spat out what the Bitcoin relevant equivalent would be for XRP, and it doesn't work. But if we do come down into the charts, we can of course take a look at what we think is likely to go on with XRP, right? And where we think the price action is heading. So here for XRP, if we were to see a breakout for an XRP spot ETF, then what are we talking about? And unfortunately, we are going to have to talk about multiple cycles, because timing this, I think we are not likely to see it in 2025. Could be wrong on that, but I just don't think we're likely to see a spot ETF in 2025 for XRP. I think it's going to be further pushed more towards 2026. Could be wrong. We might see the legwork being done in 2025, as in applications going in, stuff like that. But approvals, I think, would happen in 2026. Now, I would love for it to happen earlier, just caveat that. At the moment, I'm looking for 2024, 2025 to kind of push up towards 559 to 1126 based on increased demand after the SEC versus Ripple case is officially closed. Here, I expect a correction afterwards, and then the next run to the upside. And this is the run that I think we'll find with the spot ETF. And I do think we're going to be pushing, that kind of $30 upwards, and I think there's going to be many reasons for this, not just spot ETFs, but I think we're going to see an increase in the demand, because I think we'll actually have clarity over in the US where XRP can be utilized for cross-border payments, for just payments in general, and we're going to see a lot more institutions now they have clarity utilizing the product in the US, right? Like you see over in Japan, for example, and you see other parts of the world where they can use XRP for its designed purposes. Once this case comes to an end, it kind of gives you not only clarity from a retail speculative investment point of view, but it gives the institutions a framework to be working towards. And so I'm looking for this run to the upside based on the case closing, and we are likely to see significant percentage gains, very similar to what we saw with Kick Interactive versus the SEC, or SEC versus Kick Interactive, with the KIN token, which did thousands upon thousands upon thousands of percent of gains after being classified as a security, and obviously Kick Interactive being found guilty of securities fraud. And so after all of those really negative things, fines being paid, we saw thousands of percent in gains. And this is because you had clarity. I mean, you cannot put a number on that just yet, but I think ultimately we're going to see a very significant surge. Once that surge is done, we'll see a bear market come in. And of course, the next run will be ETF led. And I think that's going to be where we see the significant surges to the upside. It'll be through great development work, and it will be through new partnerships, through a bear market, new building, new development, and I think new demand will come in fresh into that next bullish market. We are here in very difficult times, but I think these are going to be very interesting. The bear market might be very short-lived, as we have seen shorter and sharper bear markets according to historical price movements. And if that is the case, then we'll see another really short bearish market, maybe 6 to 9 months, and then another run up. So by the end of 2025, we might be in a really, really strong position to start seeing these ETFs rolling on out for Solana, for XRP, and for the wider altcoin market. Now, let me know what your thoughts are on all of this in the comments down below. If you have found it useful, smash the like button. If you're new, subscribe, and check this video out right here. We're discussing a bit more of what's going on in the crypto space.